All right, as we're about to record the final episode, everybody say hello to Pittsburgh Pat.
Hello, everyone.
It's great to have you here on a live episode. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. It was a long way coming. We've been doing this since November.
So, as you can see, we have our 4 party members plus Bubble Monkey, who is normally only with Jeff in Winters, plus a Flying Man, who's normally only in Magic and the Realm of Ness's Mind. So,
So this is obviously not
tampered with.
standard. Yes.
Okay, ads have just started. Well, while ads are going on, I will set us up to teleport to Threed so we can actually do this. And the names of our characters are after some of my viewers and people in chat. So I was Ness, Jules was Paula, and then we had Corey and Loki.
Cool.
Teleport to Threed. And another one of our
I like
viewers.
Loki.
Yeah, see, Loki was. Nick was one of like our more common viewers, and he's one of our mods and Schnabel. However, Nick didn't fit super well for an Asian prince. Loki did much better. It seemed a bit more exotic.
Did you watch the Disney Plus series?
I didn't.
Loki.
I saw it had Owen Wilson in it though.
Yeah, he's really good.
So we made Nick our dog at the beginning. The dog's name was Nick.
That's a funny name for a dog.
I know, right? This was a discussion I had with my mom years ago because some people name some people name their dogs like human names and other people get annoyed by that. So she had one of her coworkers get a new dog and she was asking around like, "Oh, what should I name my dog?" And I was suggesting names, and then one of them was that I said out of the blue was Richard. And she was
Yeah, why
like,
not?
"How could you name your dog Richard?" I'm like, "Why not? What's wrong with it?"
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of pet owners treat their dogs like humans anyway.
Exactly. If you ever watch Shark Tank, you'll know that people care so much for their pets that they are willing to spend a lot of money on rather ridiculous things, which is why Shark Tank is like, oh, if it's a pet product, no matter how silly it seems, we might want to invest in it because it could work.
Yeah, it could. It could just be that next trend.
Experience to get to the next level, 169699. Okay, so this is going to be an episode dedicated to the Threed Circus Tent glitch, and I'll be talking about it as we enter in here. We're going to be utilizing 2 tricks. 2? Well, I guess 2. The first one was saving there, so if the game does crash, we don't have far to come. The second trick is there is an ability on the Switch to rewind the tape and go back. So, like, if the game crashes, we can actually rewind and go back to the part before it crashes.
So it has something in the memory, in the RAM.
Yeah, you can see it at the bottom. It says if you press ZL and ZR at the same time, it says it suspends the menu like this.
Yeah. Windows has that too, where you can record the last 30 seconds of your gameplay. If something really cool happens and you were like, oh, I didn't record that. And then you can just like hit a button and Xbox will save it.
How do I do this?
Resident Windows recorder, yeah. And most of the video cards. So like NVIDIA has a feature like that as well. And I'll bet AMD has one.
We can rewind there. We're standing by the tent. There's where we were in the hotel. Yeah.
Yes. Very nice. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if it's streaming and it's still in there in RAM, it might as well be accessible.
Exactly.
That's what the A stands for.
It's what the
RAM. That's what the A in RAM stands for, accessible.
Oh.
Well, access.
Really?
Yeah. Random access memory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pat is smarter than I am when it comes to certain things.
I don't know about that. Well, we all have our expertise in different things, that's for sure. You've shown me a lot here. What a rich game this is.
So this is what we have to do. We stand in the corner of this tent so that the top pixel of our hat, Ness's hat, clips in through the edge of the little star that's on the purple part.
I remember you telling me about this when we were actually here the first time.
Yeah. This is at the very edge of the pane, which holds all of the maps in Earthbound. So all of the caves, all of the towns, all of the dungeons, they're all on one giant plane. And this is at the very bottom corner of it. And unlike other rooms where the spacing is kind of set aside from the very edge, this room comes right over to the very edge of the map. And if you check here over and over again, eventually the game will check out of bounds. And you think of it like dividing by 0. The game does not like it. So I'm just gonna rapid tap the button to check. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
That was first try. So that wasn't anything significant, but that was the very first try. The game decided to puke and show us some random stuff. The most common thing we'll be seeing here is a long collection of the letter Q, and I mean like 30 seconds of the game just generating nothing but Qs.
That's odd.
That's the most common. It doesn't crash the game. However, we're going to be looking for other things. We can get anything from random sound effects playing, the game giving us lines of text from other parts of the game, giving us items, teleporting us, or the best, the pièce de résistance, the debug menu.
Yes.
Of which my favorite part of the debug menu is you can, well, add the party members, adjust your level, and also you can access all of the descriptions of all of the items and all of the lines of hint man text throughout the game.
Okay.
Anyway.
Nope. No problem here.
It's going to be a fair amount of that. But as we're standing here, we can also discuss whatever else is going on with chat, and I'm also going to be telling you and chat for the first time ever about this video game storyline that I was working on with Corey, who is the third party member named after.
Yeah.
So I'll let the anticipation for that build just a little bit.
Okay.
So anyway, give us a point of conversation we can talk about on stream while waiting.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's great. I do editing for people. I've edited fiction and nonfiction, and I write as well. So, and I actually have a degree in it. So it'll be interesting to hear your ideas. I'm pretty happy about the fact that you're working on something, and it's always fun to be working on something and to get a new audience to bounce ideas off of. I think that's the hardest thing. A friend of mine right now, I'm editing his stuff, and his wife keeps giving him suggestions, and he's like, "Well, I don't really know if she understands." And I said, "Look, she's an impartial audience. Oh, look at all are those V's or Y's?
Those are V's. They're twinkling V's.
Very cool. V for very cool.
Ooh.
Yeah. So.
VV.
I said, your wife is a perfect audience. She's, she's. What was that? That's all these machine characters.
We got messed up text on the screen.
Oh, it's half letters. I can see the lower part of the first group is capital letters just cut in half.
But it's loaded into the background. It's following us around now.
It won't redraw.
And it looks like Flying Man has been somehow departed from the group, and we can clip right through. Oh, no. Oh, the game really does not know what to do with Flying Man. He's just randomly stopping and then teleporting to us.
Too funny.
Yep. Well, now we have glitched text, plus we're going to keep doing it. This can only end well.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
This is a perfect situation to crash the game, but that's why we saved. It looks like the word Oh, there's the cues. It looks like
There you go.
It looks like whatever it's printing in the text box is also printing outside because it kept saying problem for no problem here.
Mm.
But you finished what you were saying about a captive audience, the guy's wife or whatever.
Oh, having an impartial, an audience, willingly impartial audience. I think is the hardest thing. I did an interview on my channel with a game designer, somebody that designs board games, and he said one of the hardest things to do is to get fresh people to try the game, people that haven't tried other iterations of it as you're improving it, and you need a big audience, a big pool of people, and you run through your friends and family. But it's good to have fresh people that have a fresh look at it and don't know, because they're only going to see what exists there. They're not going to remember the other iterations of it, the other versions of it. And that's important because now you know what's there, because once you start writing, you think, oh yeah, I wrote that down, but it may not actually exist in the current draft, right? So it's
Yeah, very
important
true. I'm that kind of person. I come up with a lot of ideas. I forget to write things down.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually wrote down some of this, and then I wrote it down online too. But a large portion of it is just in chat with Corey, who I was originally discussing it with, and they've contributed with some ideas as well.
Yeah, save those chats.
Oh yeah, of course. We're getting a lot of cues. I said this is the most common. But yeah, I've said in chat here that you had a writing background, so I was excited to get your opinion on it.
Ooh, I am happy to help.
I like how it ends with QA, like question answer.
Question answer, yeah.
Like after all these cues, you must have a lot of questions. Here's the answer.
Here's one answer for all of those questions.
42. That's the answer.
Or I don't know.
That's pretty good too. That's the answer
People don't
you
like
get.
that answer.
That's the answer you get when asking the government about anything.
I love using that now. I used to have to pretend that I knew everything, but now I can say I don't know, and people just don't know what to do next. Or the one that my niece always says, "Let me Google that for you."
Oh yeah, I do that too.
She always says that in a very snide way.
Well, maybe not snide, but
Well, I'm
do.
not saying you do it,
Oh
but
yeah.
she does it. Yeah. She's a teenager, so she's like, "Let me Google that for you."
But yeah, just think about it. You ask the government, where exactly did our taxpayer dollars go this year? I don't know.
$500 wrench.
Oh yeah, the
I
whole
think
thing with like the military paying $600 for like toilet lids or something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Ooh, more crazy stuff.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's any large organization. I had a buddy who benefited from that. He graduated his undergraduate, and he didn't know what he was going to do next. And one of his advisors said, "Look, I know somebody over at this college, and they need a student for their program, and you'd be an excellent candidate for a master's." And so he went and did that, and he got a free ride because the school had the funding for one more student. If they didn't find somebody to do that, they were going to decrease their allocation for the following year. So
Like
they needed,
budget.
yeah, they just needed a warm body. So so he lucked out, and it helped to launch his career. It was
That is pretty
just
cool.
the right time. Yeah.
And I've said it before. I don't know if I said it with you. The fact that colleges get a fair portion of their income from taxpayer dollars and still have the audacity to charge the rates they do as tuition.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's criminal, really.
but yeah, that is, I think, one thing I talked about when I did the live reaction to the state cues, to the State of the Union a couple weeks ago. And we were also talking about this last episode, um, a lot of different things we were talking about while we were exploring the world in its peaceful sense about Jules with just a Q exclamation point. Uh,
Phew.
how cute. Uh,
I
so
accuse you. I recuse myself.
recused, yeah. What was the other word? Back when it was a couple years ago, and it was either a judge recuses himself or redacted. It was like
Oh
the
yeah.
government released some sort of report that people were interested to see, like, oh, what's in it, and everything was redacted, and so there was a
Was
whole
that
bunch of.
was that the UFO thing? I remember when they were like just recently were like, oh, the government's going to release a document about UFOs, and it was like basically it said we don't know what they are.
Exactly. Again, we don't know,
It's like,
but
okay,
I
great. Okay, we're back to square one. Thanks,
I,
Mulder.
I think this was maybe something to do. It had to have been something with like Trump, like like the Mueller report or something else. But it was because everyone made jokes about it, like, "Oh, this is redacted. This is redacted. We have no idea what any of this actually says."
Just the words the and was. They're the only words that are left visible.
I'd like a consonant,
Yeah.
please. Q. No Q.
Or when Peter Griffin played Wheel of Fortune, he said, I'll take a Q, another Q, another Q, and what would you like for your vowel, Peter? The Batman symbol.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah, I've seen a lot of clips
Yeah.
of Family Guy recently, of which some of it's kind of messed up. Some of it's funny, but some of it's like weird.
Yeah, I think that happens whenever you get whenever a show goes on too long, is the writers get so wacky that they try stuff that you normally wouldn't try, and not all of it lands,
But I mean, like
Comedy's hard to write.
some of it's just like parodies of really violent stuff, and like, why did we need this an animated head exploding or something like that?
They go for the
The shock value.
the ridiculous
Oh,
laugh, and it
hey, we
doesn't
got
always
it. This is
work.
the debug menu.
Whoa, nice. So what's all this stuff mean?
Oh wow. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, this is good.
This means that we're going to be utilizing that rewinding thing. Okay. So I kind of forget which each one of these is. I'm gonna Google it because I want to
I think
do it
that's a good idea.
efficiently.
Right, and that way also we won't accidentally exit out of it.
Oh yeah, unless I hit B, we shouldn't. But that's why we have the rewind. All right, Earthbound debug menu. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's the menu. Debug menus are user interfaces that allow the user to change a game's internal state. They're often used by the
Yes, we
developers to
know
easily
that.
test various parts of the game. This can be accessed by using the debug menu access point in ONET, or by using certain code. Wait, there's a way to get here in ONET too?
That's what it says. It says ONET.
Oh,
I'm looking at the same wiki article. So party configuration is the first one.
Oh, so at the very
and then
top
if you
edge
go
of
in,
ONET, yeah.
Yeah. And then it says if you go into party configuration, you can add a member. So that's obviously how Flying Man got here. Bubble Monkey.
Yeah. So
It's like
I got
Tony. Oh wow, there's a lot.
Ness, Paula, Jeff Pooh, Pokey Picky, King, our dog, Tony, Bubble Monkey, Dungeon Man. Oh, Dungeon Man would be cool. And the Frying Men or Flying Man.
Yeah, I see that. Fring Man.
Remove a party member.
Fringman.
Status ailments. First, so how many status ailments are there? Diamondized, nausea, sunstroke, mushroomized, homesick, decreased PP, unconscious, paralyzed, poisoned, cold, possessed, and decreased HP. I want to give us a mini ghost, I think.
Cool.
So that is TRTK under this.
You have
So
to
we get to
select the party
name a ghost live.
member.
So
Let's let the audience name it.
yeah, audience, what should we name the mini ghost? We've had thus far Aviator, Gomer, Cornelius, and Ember. We've had 4. But what were you saying when we entered into this about Family Guy?
Oh, I was just saying they go for that over the top thing. And the other thing the Family Guy does is that exaggerated, long joke, like when Peter hits his knee and just keeps going, like 15 times. And it's it's funny the first time it happens, and now they throw back to it, like they call it up once in a while. But yes, they'll take a joke on longer than it really should be.
Yeah,
And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. And a lot of times it doesn't. So it's
I remember
hard.
one.
Especially
It was, I think it was Stewie and Brian were at some sort of fancy gala, and the lady, she's a super rich lady. She was the heir to the estate of insert famous rich name, or like a rich character, or some sort of brand name, and it was like 50 names end to end.
right,
That was her last name.
right. It's like Baron de Rothschild, de Vanderbilt,
Yeah, exactly.
Barclay, and then you just think of all the ritzy names you can think of. And everybody comes up with 10, and you put them all together, and you got 50. Yeah,
Yeah. I like how
it's like
if you look at the debug menu, the first 3 going down are PTO for paid time off.
I didn't see that. That's clever.
Chat,
PTOM.
chat,
Yeah, the rest don't track.
Chat can't decide on a name for the ghost, so
Okay.
well, we got it by pressing the button that said TRTK. So how about
Tricky?
Yeah, that'd work. Tricky
I
the
don't know.
ghost.
It's just something I thought of.
I like that. We got TK and then TRTK. So Tricky the ghost.
So this is always a classic debug menu option of just giving yourself unlimited cash. So you can
That would
increase your
be
money.
under OK and that one.
That's what that's
increase
under.
your ATM to the maximum, increase your on-hand cash to the maximum, manually increase the amount of cash on hand, decrease the cash on hand to 0. I don't know why that one exists.
Just in case you want to like sabotage your little brother's game or something, I guess, so that when he comes back he has no money.
Manually increase.
I don't know.
So we're at 69,317. Why don't we give ourselves, how about 87654? 87654.
Okay.
Just for fun. Let's see here. MS, the really long one, is services. Let's go Express, may crash the game.
I was looking at that one. That's interesting.
Mock Pizza, ATM machine, the man in deep darkness who lends you money.
It gives you money. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
The one on the bottom is the guy that charges you double.
Order
a pizza, why not? Here's your pizza pie, sir. That'll be $48. Do you have your money, don't you?
That's a great big pizza pie.
Uh-oh.
Items.
Let's rewind back. Because that exits out from it.
Oh, okay. Oh no, we lost it. Yeah, we lost it. So the other one, IDU, there it is. Yeah, IDU is just jump to a location, which is pretty cool.
Hinty, HNTY, is Hitman text. So if you enter a number, he'll give you
that line.
Seems that the citizens of Onet have been harassed by those dang street punks called the Sharks.
We didn't really use him that much during our walkthrough, did we?
I wish I remembered some of the numbers that were like the more interesting ones, but some of them are repeats.
Let me
But
see if I can find them on it.
I've done it before. I've gone through
Mm-hmm.
all of them before, but some of them are more funny than others.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are very obscure, like I still don't understand what point in the game it would be practical.
Mm.
The police are pretty touchy about people, not to mention kids going up there. Great police
Mm.
force. Did you do something
Yeah.
illegal?
Just every once in a while they walk around asking people.
Have you heard of a girl named Jules or Paula? She lives in Tucson, the next town. So some of them are very like, oh, why are you not doing what logically comes next? The Apple Kid and Orange later, for sure, without fail, certainly, something wonderful will happen. Believe me, this hint is worth a lot more than you paid. I, I agree with that one because the going to see them is not really a given unless you've already played the game.
Right.
Should maybe go there unless you have something better to do. So sometimes the hitman will say something not helpful, often a joke or something serious directed towards Ness. But yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't mean to hit that. Show the item descriptions. Okay, so the early ones are just like the weapons. So zip gun, that's for Jeff or Corey.
It tells you what it does.
If you do like 100 brain food lunch, when eaten, you recover about 300 HP and 50 PP. That's why it was so good. I think there's a total of like 250 something, 254, I think. If you do any number
Wow.
higher than that, it crashes.
Huh.
Or is it 253? Yep, that's the last one. Carrot key is the last one.
Turkey.
A special type of bunny's favorite carrot.
Mm.
I mean, I was one off.
That's pretty good memory.
I did this, I actually highlighted the video, so if anyone wants to, from YouTube over to my Twitch channel, there's a highlight of me for 2 hours going through the debug menu, looking at every single line of Hitman text, looking at a whole bunch of different places in the story, trying to keep the game from crashing, doing all sorts of extra stuff, more than we'll do here, but yeah.
The detailed look.
Mm-hmm. It would just take too long to look at every single Hitman thing, because he has, I think, 60 some.
There's a text file that you can Google. So if you're really that interested, somebody's compiled them all.
I actually saved it on my phone, every single line of text in the game. It's so long.
Oh wow.
Well, I didn't download it. That would hurt the phone, but
yeah, right. I know. There's not. It's funny because like Dropbox is like that. I have a client that's using Dropbox, and it's like Dropbox. Like, do you want me to download everything in Dropbox to your computer? And I'm like, no. There's like a lot of like video files there. No, I do not want those on my tiny little hard drive. You know?
I just bookmarked the tab.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mark the locations of the HNTTZ. Mark the locations of the 6 hint men on your map.
Oh, okay. That's pretty interesting.
Means.
Oh, it probably has like when you pull up the map, it just has a star or something where you can find them. Maybe.
I don't have the
That's what I'm
map
guessing.
on me.
Yeah.
6. Yeah. Oh, are there 6 hitmen throughout the game? Let me think, because you got Onett, Tucson, 3, 4.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then you have Summers, and
Isn't there one in? Yeah, there's one in Summers. I remember that one.
South of Scarabun, that next to the pyramids. Yeah, I don't think there's any others. He's not in Winters. He's not in Deep Darkness.
He's not in the dinosaur land.
Yeah. So I guess that's true. I guess there's only 6 of them in the major towns.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Items, you can give items with G to Z. Enter the value of the item. That's how,
So you can give them to like, you can just swap them around your party.
no, I mean, you can get items that you don't already have. I tried to exit out, but
Oh.
that's how I
Okay.
gave our character the Gutsy Bat, which is the 1 in 128 item dropped from the Bionic Kraken. I did that from this
Okay.
file. So it has to get
Gotcha.
smash attacks every time.
Oh wow. That's
IDU, go to location. Onet, Tucson, Happy Village, Peaceful Rest Valley. See, this is the only way you can actually teleport to Happy Village.
It's not working.
RBR is change your party members' levels. That's how I'm at level 80. IBNT, go to an event. So any event ID, such as when Pokey's letter arrives, or at the end of the game, or right after you rescue Paula.
Oh.
Let's go. Let's do my number, 19. It's not gonna let us do this either. Alright, what's the last two? SUND is sound test. Full songs will replace the area's current playing song. Enter song ID, sound effects, and then there's one button that says effect. It's actually a full word, but it's unknown what it does.
I see, yeah. And then teleport test.
Yeah, you have to enter a 1 or 2 to do anything. Oh wow, more cues. Alright, so this story is from a while back. I think this is maybe like a year old. I first started writing something. And my full attention hasn't gone to it because obviously there's work and projects online and other things I'm working on. But here's the general premise of it, which I wrote down.
Okay.
So this is also kind of like a fantasy, other planets, alien civilization kind of story too.
Okay.
It centers around you on Earth, as I guess a little bit older than Ness, like a high school age, like 18 years old-ish. And it's one of those where you have a mission to play through the game and make progress and rescue people and that kind of thing, but you don't know the full story behind it until like the midway point. So
that's good. You reveal the mystery as you go.
So as you would start the story, there is these suspicious happenings around your town. Your hometown is the sunny town of Aberdeen, and it's supposed to represent America. In fact, like the way I designed it, the map, all the different locations have new names, but they would kind of represent the globe, like different continents and stuff.
Yeah.
So you start in Aberdeen, your hometown. Everybody's kind of deliriously happy. They're sunny. It's everyone's optimistic. That kind of place.
Nice.
Maybe not realistic, but they're optimistic.
That's okay. Yeah.
But there's these suspicious happenings and this just kind of dark vibe that's come over the town all of a sudden. And it's your job to kind of rescue your classmates or your friends or whatever who have been caught up in it and have this like evil influence over them. And so you save them, and then you find out from your crazy uncle, because everyone has a crazy uncle, right?
Yes.
You find out from your crazy uncle that he's not just senile, he's actually kind of a psychic. And he tells you about the mission that you have to save Earth from an impending alien invasion.
Nice.
You can't figure out how he knows this, but there's evidence to back it up. So you make your way.
But nobody believes him, right? Because
nobody else.
He's
Everyone
the
else thinks he's
crazy
crazy
uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
your
I'm the
best.
crazy uncle in my family.
It's not the worst title to have. It could be the racist uncle,
Well, yeah, I don't think I'm that, but I
the uncle
definitely.
that no one invites to Thanksgiving.
That's true. I wouldn't be invited. So go ahead. So oh yeah, that's great. Actually, you should have the conversation, the initial conversation, happen over Thanksgiving dinner, because that'd be the only time that the main character would be near his crazy uncle, because he's so crazy. Like he's so in such disrepute that's the only time the
Disrepute.
family, like,
It's a
yes,
very
ill
good word.
repute. I don't know if that's a word or not. But yeah, that he yeah, that's the only time that the family will like tolerate him.
Well, I didn't have it as like him, the uncle at the house. It's like the uncle
Okay.
makes him aware that like he knows what's going on, but you have to kind of like go off to the side to his house to visit to find out about it. Like it's a key moment.
Gotcha.
So from there, your best friend, who you've already rescued, um, accompanies you as your first party member, and you head to the normally sunny and cheerful town square for Aberden. And everyone there, see, I'm trying to make this kind of a little representation of like the party split in American government now. So my idea for it was, it's always sunny in Aberden, but now there's this cloud. And the two parties are the Blue Party and the Orange Party. The Blue Party has based their policy something to do with like the blue sky. There is always sunny in the daytime, whereas the Orange Party bases it based off of how the sky gets orange at sunrise and sunset.
That's interesting. I like that.
But now, since everything is all cloudy and there's this dark cloud surrounding the town, they both blame each other for having something to do with like why the town's not sunny anymore. So they're just constantly fighting and arguing.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see that.
at which point you visit them, you talk to them, and you find one person who's just kind of the outcast, who once was a loyal member of one of the parties, but ever since it had gone dark, he is the only one that was willing to like listen to the other side, and his own party kind of cast him aside. And he becomes your second party member. So like he's the only one who was open-minded enough to listen, and then they rejected him for that.
And then he has some former clout. So there can be times when he actually does have contacts that will meet with him, maybe surreptitiously, but they don't want to like expose themselves. So they'll only clandestinely meet them. So that could make for some interesting intrigue.
Something like that, yeah. So
Moments, yeah.
he becomes your next party member, and you, your friend, and him have to work to save the various members of the blue and the orange parties who've also been like kind of taken or possessed by the whatever force is going on. So you rescue them. You finally get on to see the leader or the mayor or whatever of Aberden, and then you find out that he had been taken over a long time ago, and you have like a major boss battle to save him.
That sounds pretty good.
So that would be like the premise of the first area. And then you'd have to get your last party member, so the last of 4 party members before you leave America or Aberden. So it's your niece or cousin. I haven't kind of quite narrowed it down, whoever it is, but she's a student at the Institute of Doctoral Etiquette. Like a
Etiquette.
Exactly, so like a veterinary school, because I based it off of my friend Dina from college, who's a veterinarian now. So she's very dedicated, she's very knowledgeable, and your uncle suggests that she'd be a big help to you before you leave on your journey. So you go up to the school, and you have to save her because, of course, the Dark Cloud's still there. And when you save her, she joins your party, and like you've officially finished the first area of like you've saved your hometown and the surrounding areas.
So if you're thinking of this as a video game, where is that just the way you're? Because I know you're talking about in terms of area. That's the I was
Yeah,
just curious.
that
Yeah.
it started out as a sequel to Metopia, and then it kind of turned a bit into kind of a little bit of Earthbound too. But
Mhm.
that is like the story. That's the only. This is the only area where I have like the full story of like this goes to this, goes to this. The rest of it is just more of a concept.
Gotcha.
So that would be you'd have you, your best friend, this former politician, and your veterinary relative. And that's your full party before traveling on a plane across the ocean to the second town of Cedarville, where you have to investigate more happenings from there. But
Mm.
so now comes the really interesting part. So that's you have all of this dark cloud, and it's not telling you much. It's just a force of evil you're fighting. But when you reach the midpoint of the game, when you fight the enemy who you've discovered more about, that's when you find the whole story. So the enemy you're fighting against is an alien named Kankus, and he's been harassing Earth and the various towns via whatever powers he has, and his base is underneath a glacier, like a science lab in a glacier.
Okay.
It's called Good Gracious Glacier.
Ah.
I
That's
like
awesome.
alliteration. Alliteration's fun.
Yeah. Cute.
So after you fight him or his robot form or like a combination of both, you find out the full story of what's going on and how your uncle isn't crazy. So the base story is there's an alien civilization on a foreign planet named Euterios, and they're led by their fearless leader, if you will, Stannis, of which Kankus was Stannis's lead general, his best friend, his right-hand man, and they went from planet to planet, just kind of settling. There was nobody who lived on any other planet, so they um, um, set up civilizations for their people on all these other planets. And when they got to Earth, that's the first time they saw people that were already on a planet, and they met with resistance. So after a year-long war between their forces over Earth, they were all worn out from battle, and Stannis decided to move on. But Kankus was willing to try to make him happy by deception, so he proposed a magic treaty to Earth that the memory of the war and all of the trauma thereof would be forgotten, and that
Mm.
Stannis would leave. So, like almost like
Mm.
a peace token, if you will.
Mhm.
And right before Earth agreed to it and signed it, he, without them knowing, added a provision that that Stannis could return in 20 years to reclaim Earth.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
the
So
entirety
that's
of
the
Earth,
deadline.
the entirety of Earth forgets it, except your uncle, who was an astronaut on the ISS, and he was outside of Earth at the time. So he was on Earth during the war, went up in the space station. He wasn't on Earth, so he doesn't forget anything, but no one else believes him, and they think he's crazy for talking about this alien invasion.
Gotcha. I like it.
Uh,
I like
so
that
that
part a lot.
so that's kind of the premise. So he tells you about it, you have to stop it. But then comes
Like,
the intrigue of which Kankus returns to Stannis and is like, "Oh look, I did this. You can come back to get Earth in 20 years." But Stannis is so appalled that he used deceptive means to get it that he banishes him to a lone planet at the edge of space. To which, when Kankus is there, he seeks his revenge. He goes back to harass the people on Earth and to build this base on Good Gracious Glacier to oppose Stannis when he comes.
interesting. Yeah. I like
And
the go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. Go. I think I want to hear what's coming next because I want to reserve my comment.
Okay, so that's that element of the story. So that's why Kankus
Mhm.
was harassing you in the first half, harassing Earth in the first half of it. But then once you defeat him, he joins your party to help you because he has no other. Ooh, Well, we may have something,
Yeah.
or maybe not. I see the V's are moving. It's like the stuff on the far right side of the screen is moving.
Right.
Oh, oh dear.
Mhm.
So yeah, so he joined your party with the hopes of somehow getting back at Stannis. In the meantime, Stannis is still like the end goal because he still plans on invading Earth. So in the second half of the game, you would eventually get to the point where you take off from Earth to go to his home planet to stop him from invading. And when you get there, you found that over the years, Stannis has somewhat kind of gone crazy because he feels like he betrayed his best friend and wasn't really worth it to stand up for honesty if he still intends to go back to Earth. And like just this mental turmoil has caused him to stockpile so many weapons that he just, when he does come back to Earth, he would just like obliterate it. So you have to stop him, and that would lead into meeting him and whatever the events would take place in the final battle. But the way I wrote it, I want Stannis to be like the main villain, like a lesson of self-righteousness, where like you do something
Mm.
because you think it's right, but really it eats at you because it's just like your way of looking at it and it could hurt others. Versus
Mm.
I want Kankus to be redeemable despite being deceptive at the beginning, but then feeling betrayed. And then he learns that it was power the whole time, the power of like conquering these other planets that split him and Stannis. And he would never want that to happen again because he saw like how it ruined his life, how it ruined Stannis's life too. So
Yeah, I like that you've got motivations for the so-called bad guys, the main villain, the main adversaries. Um, I do, and I like also that it's like a sort of twisted friendship. I mean, and it's or it's a sense of friendship, I should say, even though they're technically evil because they're harassing Earth. That's a thing that I think a lot of writers don't do is they don't. It's like we say in Dungeons and Dragons, the monsters have lives too, right?
yeah,
So
very
like
true.
they're not going to just attack you until they're dead. I mean, that's the way a lot of people play Dungeons and Dragons, but realistically, like if you were fighting a tiger, let's say, and somehow you like were able to injure the tiger enough, the tiger would eventually go, I'm out of here. Like this, I'm
Yeah.
getting hurt and I'm not going to die over this. So I'm going to leave. And so that I do that a lot in my, unless there's a compelling reason for a creature or a character to fight to the death. So, yeah, so it's good to know like where those characters are coming from and not just set them up as foils. So I think you've got some dimensionality to it. It's really good. I think. I love the kind of ridiculed and fringe character who ends up being the hero. That's, I mean, it's been done before, but I always like that a lot. And you know, I like the fact that you made him an astronaut, so that makes him you know, kind of an instant like credibility to him because crazy people don't just get to go into space. You know, like
Exactly.
that doesn't happen. So at some point before his craziness, he wasn't crazy. You know, so that's cool. That's a really good instant way to give him credibility. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. A lot of good stuff. I could see
Yeah.
where you could make a great story out of it. That's more story than most video games have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just from the point here of see, because this is what I've said before. I'm telling this as if it was a video game, and I originally started writing it as a video game. But like
Right.
with the amount of story here, this could be like a book or a movie, or of which
Easily.
I need to choose because if I continue writing it as a video game, I need intended enemies, intended bosses, storyline, what areas we need to go to.
Uh,
versus if
Yeah.
I write it as a story or a book, I can focus more on the plot and how exactly we're finding out the details about this plot.
Well, what are you more comfortable writing?
I'm not sure because this is really like my first time writing something that's even made it
This
this
like,
far.
yeah. Yeah, I would say that the most I would if for my personal advice if would be uh do whatever do whatever's going to carry the story forward. So whatever form is going to be the one that's going to get you closer to completion or a sense of completion, then do that, because otherwise if you say, "Oh, I'm going to write a screenplay, but first I need to figure out the screenplay format, and then I need to figure out what software to use." Don't put any more obstacles in your path. Get the story written, because it'll be easier to, once the story's written, no matter what format you pick, it'll be easier to adapt it to a different format. So maybe it starts as a, you know, 3D, a treatment for a video game and ends up being a novel. Who knows? But at least get to the point where the whole story's down, written.
Yeah. And I would
Because
say
most people don't finish. Most people
it,
start and they don't finish.
it'd probably be easier to write it as a story, like as a book or screenplay. And like I don't have experience with like programming or art design or anything. I'd have to have someone else to work with on that. But I feel like I would be
Exactly.
more fulfilled if I wrote it to turn into a video game.
Yeah, it could be step one of a larger project. One could lead to the other. So,
But yeah.
I think about that a lot, because the novel that I wrote would be a great screenplay for a movie. But I've never really written in screenplay format, so I would have to learn how to do that, or I could pay somebody to adapt it, which would
You
probably
have
be
a
way
novel.
easier.
I think I remember you saying
Yeah,
that. Is
yeah,
it
it's
like
on
available
Amazon.
to? Oh, really?
Yeah, you can just. Sometimes it's free. I think it might be. I think if you have Kindle, Amazon Kindle, or Kindle Plus, or whatever they call it, I think it's
What's the
free.
What's the name of
Um,
it?
Psychic hang gliding.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So
Psychic
when I was hang gliding
hang
by
gliding.
Pittsburgh Pat. Yeah, I just use my screen name for
Wait, is it
my online name.
hang gliding or hand gliding?
Hang. Yeah, hang
Psychic
gliding.
hang glider. Gliding.
Yeah, he's a hang glider pilot who thinks he's becoming psychic, and
Psychic hang gliding. A sexy beach a sexy beach book.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
light, kind of romance, kind of a. You go to the beach and read a book. It's designed to be
Oh,
read in like a couple days. You don't have to It's not War and Peace.
I see it.
So,
I see it from
yeah.
you. I see it. It's on Walmart, Amazon, Kindle.
Walmart.
It says $9.99 at Walmart.
At that, I didn't know it was listed at Walmart. I guess Amazon must have some kind of affiliation, because I only put it on Kindle Direct Publishing, so Amazon must take it, market it other places. I
Who's
did
with
get
you,
a
Will?
royalties just recently, so somebody bought it.
Yep,
So
it
that's cool.
is. It's the Walmart app. Um,
Oh, that's awesome. See, that's the other thing. So, once you put this kind of stuff out there, like what we're doing right now with this live stream, and when you
it's
post
out
stuff
on
to
the
YouTube,
internet.
it's just out there, and you don't know who's going to pick it up. So, one of my favorite stories about YouTubing is that there was this book that I read when I was an adolescent, and it was called Zen in the Martial Arts. It has these little 2-page stories about little life lesson kind of things. So there was this one. It was called "Winning by Losing," and it was
Ah,
the author was a martial artist who fought with he sparred with Bruce Lee. He was really good,
oh
and
really?
Yeah, apparently. And so he and his wife were in the car, and he turned down. He was in L.A. and he was in a part of the town he didn't know, and he turned down a one-way street. He was wrong. He was going the wrong way on a one-way street. This
Uh,
other car was going the other way, and there wasn't enough room for them to pass. So the guy in the car who had the right of way was really upset, and he stopped his car and he got out. And he started yelling, and they both got out of the cars. Now, meanwhile, this guy's a martial artist. He could have taken him down. You know, he could have easily subdued the man physically, but he didn't. This guy wanted to fight him too, so he kept circling the car and saying, You're right. I'm wrong. I don't know where I'm going. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Blah blah blah." Until the guy settled down. And the guy basically was like, "Well, yeah, don't do it again." So then they, they get out of. So he pulls out. They get the situation untangled, and they leave. So his wife's like, you could have easily, handled that guy. You could have restrained him or something. He says, "Yeah, but what if I had to hurt him?" And he's like, I don't, we would have had to gone to the police and the hospital and this and that. And it's like, it was, let's just get on with our day. You don't have to win every situation. Sometimes winning is finding the best way out of the situation, right? Especially when the other person is agitated. Like, give them a way out that is honorable for them. Don't worry about your sense of honor. Just let, just the win is that nothing bad happened, right? Or nothing worse happened. So
you wrote the entire description of your experience on your website in Latin?
What?
I found a website, pittsburghpat.com. It says my experience, and it's like all in Latin.
I don't know what that is. I'll have to look.
It says,
that's pretty funny.
So it's hi, I'm Pittsburgh Pat, and then it says about me, and then it says my experience. Awesome company, 2020 to present. Better company, 2018 to 2020. Good company, 2015 to 2018. But it's all in Latin. Like nothing is in English.
I don't know if that's me. Somebody must be out there like using my name or something. That's interesting.
It's pittsburghpat.com. It has you. It has your picture. It has your book.
But that's ipso locator. That's what that is those are placeholders for text. Yeah. So that's okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. There's a friend of mine who's designing my website because I just got frustrated and I was like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, "Oh, I found this great tool." So I'm like, you can experiment on mine. So there's some stuff I have to go back and just type like stuff in, but I haven't done it yet.
It looks good. It's I should have noticed all three of them were the same. It's lorem ipsum dolor sit amet consecutor.
Yeah, that's all placeholder text. That's all.
It's like me trying to read the world's longest city name from Wales.
Yeah, I love that. Have you seen that weatherman who does that?
Yeah.
He's funny. I like that guy a lot. He's good too. I mean, I guess.
The funniest.
I wouldn't know if you were wrong.
Exactly. If you watch The Chase, the UK version of The Chase, the writers tend to troll the host, Bradley Walsh. Really likable guy. He's a famous comic from in the UK, but the writers tend to troll him because they will always throw in one of the options to the multiple choice questions that's either funny or could be taken as funny because he has a very childish sense of humor. And then the one time they actually tried to make him say the full name of the town.
Yeah.
It was...
That's hilarious.
In what part of Wales is... and then he just stumbled through it. It was really funny. And the contestant said, "I think sometimes they just call it Clanpair PG." And he's like, "Well, why didn't you say something earlier?" Well, it was quite fun to try and see you say it.
Why just say so in the first place? That's awesome.
If you look up The Chase UK Bradley Walsh best moments, that it will give you a bunch of, because it's all of him either bursting out laughing or trying not to laugh and like exploding with his face, like trying to hold it in.
I'll do it. That could be really funny. Just to sum up that little story about that book, though, where the guy tells the story, is that I posted my comment on that, and just like a little thing that I said about that story. And his wife wrote in the comments, "Thank you for reviewing Joe's little book." And I'm like, "Oh my God, are you?" He's like,
Really?
"I'm like, yeah." So I met one of my childhood heroes. Like I said, I don't think you understand how much that book influenced me. Like there were a lot of great lessons in there. And she was like, "Yeah, Joe lived that book. Like he lived that way every day. And it was just so cool to like have a contact, like a human contact to someone who, you know what I mean? Like it was almost like meeting your hero. He had passed
Yeah.
away by then, but like it was like, to me that was so precious. So like, you
That is
know,
very cool.
almost like meeting a celebrity, even though I'm not really starstruck, but like
Oh,
even better than meeting a celebrity. It was cool.
I want to go back a little bit because I hit back.
But you just don't know where these things are going to land. Like you don't know who's going to read this stuff. Like you're reading my page and you're going, "Oh my God, this guy's writing in Latin." And I'm like, "No, I'm taking Latin right now on Duolingo, but I don't know how to write it yet."
I see another little book here. It says March of the Nanities.
Yeah, I wrote a short story that was listed on Amazon, but I think, is it still listed on Amazon?
It's on the website and it says buy on Amazon. It's
I
less
think
than the other one.
I think they might have taken off the shorter stuff. I think they were having some thing. Amazon was doing something where they were taking off the shorter publications. So I don't know if that's still available. But I made that available, and I wanted to make it available for free because it was about a teenage boy, and I wanted teachers to have a resource to a short story about teenagers that didn't have swear words in it, because there are no swear
That's
words in that
very
whole
good.
story. But every time teenagers are portrayed now, they are portrayed swearing, and I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that I don't think that's necessary for teaching
Yeah.
kids.
And I
So
will say, because this is on my Twitch right now, and the chat can attest to the fact that I curse on here, but I try not to in YouTube videos at all.
I mean,
Which is
I
what.
don't take you as somebody who curses excessively. I mean, obviously, when you're playing a game, you might get exasperated or excited at some point. You might accidentally say a word that, it happens when you go bowling or you golf or if you shoot pool or anything that you do where you're like, "Oh, darn rats." You know what I mean? If you can't come up with that alternative, sometimes you just go to the societal default word. So it happens.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
but you don't
we
you
stream
don't
in
do
the
that.
morning, or we record in the morning / early afternoon, and not
Yeah.
like at night. At night, at the end of the day, if I'm home from work and I'm playing the game and it's just like I'm stuck in the same sport trying to get a run started for a half an hour to an hour, I'm just like,
Mm. Yeah.
bleep everything.
But I think that's the point, right? So the point is that when I swear, I know that I've lost control, right?
Yeah.
So there's some part of my brain, maybe not totally lost control, but what I mean is there's some part of my brain that I've lost control over for a minute. So that could be I'm in traffic and somebody does something unexpected and I slam on the brakes, my adrenaline's running. So yes, I'm not in conscious control. My autonomic nervous system is taken over. Or if I'm tired or hungry or frustrated, that's when these things happen, right?
Maybe a little hangry.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, 90% of my problems are fixed with a candy bar or a snack. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like most of the time when I'm agitated, it has nothing to do with anything that's going on around me. It's just that I need to eat something. you know?
I get it. I feel you.
That's why I always
Um,
keep my pockets full of stuff. Candy, hard candy,
I love
chocolate in the
hard candies. I
wintertime.
get the cinnamon and the
Yeah,
butterscotch. I'm an old man. I have butterscotch discs in my pockets.
like Werther's originals.
Not that one.
My wife loves that. I'm not
They are
into those,
good
but
though.
I like the strawberry candies, the ones that have a little jelly filling in the middle or some kind of liquid
Oh,
filling in the middle.
I
And
think I know what you mean.
my students call them like middle school students. They call them grandma candies because they're
Yeah.
like, our grandmas always have them in her purse. I'm like,
uh,
well, I like strawberry flavor, so I don't know what to tell you. I said, I'll eat strawberry jelly beans too if you want. You know, you can eat
Oh, jelly
Starburst jelly
beans.
beans.
See,
Yeah,
Jelly
I
Belly are
bought
the
some.
best, but they're expensive.
They are. They
It's like
are. I
what?
have a Jelly Belly Death Star shaped Star Wars dispenser, a gumball
Oh,
dispenser. Yeah,
that's
I
cool.
bought it at a thrift store. I got it like Goodwill for like $5 or something like that. Fun.
So, what was I gonna say? The Jelly Belly are what, 7.99 a pound? They used to be like you could get your own flavors, like a self-serve from different bins. You could get as much as you want of each flavor, and then you
Oh
just pay
wow.
for it by the pound. But
Oh,
ever since COVID, they don't have that anymore.
that's
Because you
right.
just
I
have,
don't see any bulk food anymore.
yeah, you'd have open bins and you have a little scooper and put it in a bag yourself. I'm like, that was the best because then you could get like all the flavors you wanted and not have to put up
Mhm.
with the really bad flavors. Because as good as
Yeah,
Jelly
like if
Belly
you don't like,
was,
yeah, because if you don't like licorice, you know, like you're gonna get like, you know,
that's
the black licorice
that's
anise
always
flavored.
been the thing. Like
You know,
I
not
like
everybody
black
likes that.
licorice. My mom really hates it.
Times.
I do like it though.
Yeah, I
Um,
like the strawberry vines. I like the red, you know, ones.
yes,
I guess
I
mostly.
think strawberries, well, not strawberry, raspberry, cherry, whatever.
Yeah,
They're the most consistent. Strawberry
yeah.
daiquiri was a little too sweet, I think.
Did you try the Starburst ones? We bought those this year. Starburst jelly beans.
No, I did get another brand. I think I forget the brand, but it has like 8 flavors, and they're kind of like Mike and Ike. They taste like Mike and Ike, plus like
Yeah,
pineapple, black licorice, and grape, I think.
Tara likes the spiced. She calls them spiced jelly beans. I didn't know what the difference was, but they are a little bit like different. Like they do taste like they have some kind of like spice flavoring in them, like cardamom or cinnamon or something. You know, I don't know
Cardamom.
exactly
I
what it
forget
is.
why that's a thing.
I don't either. I don't even know why I said that, but it just came up.
It's a part of apple pie spice. Cinnamon, clove, cardamom, nutmeg, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, the
Or
difference between
ginger.
pumpkin and apple pie spice is like two or three things. And then, yeah, I like all those. I like them as
Um,
tea.
the Cincinnati chili, that was something. Because that actually has a bit of cinnamon in the sauce.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not averse to that. That's not the way I make my chili, but
Oh yeah.
I can eat it, but
Or
it's not like, oh, I have to have that.
yeah, it's a
You
more
know.
traditional chili. Cincinnati chili is more like a because they serve it over spaghetti, so
Right. It's like a pasta sauce.
it's like a more savory, less tomatoey pasta sauce. It's good, but it's a taste, a different taste for it.
Yeah, it's like when you eat oatmeal, you know, some people go for the like maple honey kind of flavor, and other people go for more of the cinnamon appley kind of flavor, and they're all good. I mean,
Yeah,
any
I
combination
would
of those are
agree.
good, but those just seem to be like the two
The
flavor categories they fall into.
Pretty much. I think Quaker Oats does cinnamon and spice, apples and cinnamon, and maple brown sugar, of which I think it really depends. I don't eat oatmeal all that much, only like
Mhm.
occasionally in the winter or when I'm sick. When I'm sick, it's oatmeal for like 5 days in a row while my throat's sore and I'm like, ugh. But when I'm sick, I think
Oh, that
my
makes sense because it's easy to eat. Yeah.
when I'm sick, I think the craving that like it satisfies the most is the maple brown sugar. I think that's the best. When I'm not sick, I think the apple cinnamon tastes better.
Mhm. I
Because when
do
you're
like
sick, you
apples and cinnamon.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you're sick, you can't taste like things very distinctly. So I think the brown sugar, maple brown sugar is like just sweeter, so you can taste something. Um,
Yes.
just
Yes. Good
like
point.
when I had COVID several years ago, I think the only thing that tasted good when I had COVID was mac and cheese.
That's interesting.
I'm like, Kraft, thank you. You saved my life.
So do you ever put anything in your mac and cheese, or is it just straight mac and cheese? Like, do you ever
Sometimes
do
you put
tuna
like,
mac, or do you ever like
oh
put any
God, no,
vegetable? No tuna
not
mac.
tuna, not tuna.
Okay. No,
Everyone
I'm
around me
curious.
likes tuna. I just don't. I put
You're just not a
ham
tuna person.
sometimes, like diced ham or stewed tomatoes.
Well, ham would be awesome. I could definitely see tomatoes. In fact, I'm kind of munching on some grape tomatoes right now. That's like my go-to snack. But
Really?
like, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I had to lose a little bit of weight. So instead of potato chips, I switched. I had to find something, and grape tomatoes are like super easy to like snack on.
Yeah, definitely. I think what are the other ones? The veggie chips or the veggie straws.
Those are good.
Those are.
They're
I could never
tasty.
find the veggie straws. Their texture was a little. They were a little hard, but the chips I think were
Hmm.
pretty good.
But what I find fascinating
Oh,
is that people are unaware of their biases. And so when they're looking at like when I look for something, so if I see the eclipse and I say, I'm going to make a connection between this and something in ancient texts, then I will find that connection because
you'll
human
look
beings are
hard enough
really
until you find something.
human beings are really good at finding patterns. And even when they're not there,
Yeah, I
you
hear
know?
you there. I've always had a tendency to look for patterns, like in school with the times tables. I'm like, maybe there's some sort of cool other tricky way to do this. But most of I found like, oh, this could apply for these three numbers and these three numbers, but it wasn't a pattern because it didn't apply to everyone. Like it wasn't provable in that sense. Although
It wasn't a proof. Yeah.
I think I found one of them that had something to do with like squares. So like 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. The difference between them is 5. 3
Mhm.
squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. The difference between them is 7. Like
Mm.
the difference between the squares is +2 and an odd number every time. So the difference between 16 and 25 is 9. Between 25 and 36 is 11. 36 and 49 is 13. It keeps increasing every time by 2.
So I started to read a book, and I have to admit I didn't finish it, and it was called "Are Numbers Real?" And that's what it was talking about. It was a mathematician, and he was talking about, okay, the reason that we have base 10 is just because of our anatomy, right? Because we can count on 10 fingers, right?
Yeah, 10
So
is generally a easy number to work with.
for us, but is that just because that's the way our brains work, or is that because that's the way nature is? Nature makes sense in base 10, right? So it's very interesting to think about it. If you really get crazy deep about it and you start thinking like, why do we use the numbers that we use? And are these repeating patterns? So like these patterns that you saw with the squares and the differences between the squares, is that real, or is that something that's made of human mathematics, or is that a nature of the universe, right? So
Well,
like,
I mean, I'm assuming it's because as far out as I go, that one is a pattern. Like that one always stays the same. And I mean,
yeah,
unless you have to go back to like the base concept of like, oh, does numbers exist? Is 3 3? Like as long as we're treating it like, okay, this is 1, 2, 3 of something. Like from that point, the operations won't change. But
right.
yeah.
I think what I'm saying is I'm thinking in terms of, I've done a couple videos about the Fermi paradox, like
Oh yeah.
if there are alien civilizations out there, why can't we see them? And so a lot of people will talk about that in terms of like contacting an alien like a transmission from an alien civilization. How would one decode it? How would one know it was intelligent? Would
Mm.
be able to understand it? That kind of thing.
And
Like how would
yeah.
we communicate if we wanted to say, hey, look at us, we're smart? How would we do that? And
And
mathematics would probably be a way to do that, right?
it makes it seem silly that we put wasn't there like a space probe that we sent off that had like a message on it written in a couple different languages saying like, "Oh, we come in peace," and our coordinates in the universe, and like a Beatles record or something like that.
3 of them. So Pioneer 10, I believe it was. I know both Voyagers, and so there were 3 different variations of this. And on the Voyagers, at least, they were gold, made of gold, so they wouldn't deteriorate, and they were albums. So they
Yeah.
had instructions on them how to listen to them, and they were discs. And so like this was before Laserdisc technology or CDs, or we stored stuff on like in binary on thumb drives or anything like that. So the best we could think of was making a gold album. And
and if you think
that's
about
what
it
we did.
too, we can't even get Earthlings, young and old, to agree on taste in music. So I don't know why they picked the Beatles to say like, "Oh, the aliens would totally love this."
So they picked a whole bunch of different stuff. They called it the Sounds of Earth, and they had
Oh,
birds chirping, and they had waterfalls, and they had all kinds of different things, and they had many different forms of music. But one of the running jokes, you'll see a meme occasionally that will be like, an alien civilization contacts the Earth remotely and says, "Send more Chuck Berry," or something like
okay. Yeah, see, because
that.
I always heard it as it was the Beatles, so I don't know who told me that, but
There
it
might
makes
be a
sense.
Beatles song on there. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you could look it up easily enough. It's
It makes more
there.
sense that it would be like natural sounds.
Yeah, and there's symphonic music there. There's like,
Ooh.
Beethoven and Bach and all that stuff. So
It appears
because
we have
that's
a menu.
mathematical too, right?
It
So
appears we
like
have an
that's
empty
the
menu.
ooh, we type in here.
Ooh.
Oh,
9% 50 happen.
yeah, it sure did.
Your reactions are with such confidence. I love it. Believe me,
Yeah.
this hint is worth a lot more than you paid.
I went to a talent show at the middle school where I work sometimes, and I volunteered, and
This,
one kid got up there. He was one of my students, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to pick 7 people from the audience, and each of you give me a random word, and I will make a story about it." So impromptu
oh,
storytelling, and
I've
it
heard
was
of that
so
kind of thing.
good. He was so good. It was like somebody said coconuts, and somebody else said poison, and somebody said this, that, and the other. So he's like, "Yeah, so there was this coconut tree on this island, and as coconut trees sometimes do, they dripped poison onto the ground. There was a puddle of poison, and this, this, that, and the other thing." Oh my God, it was just so hilarious the way he tied it all together, and it was good. It was like a decent story, and it had a middle and an ending, and it was, I was like, wow, this kid's gonna go far.
It seems like we have quite the loop of the beta symbol.
Oh yeah, look at that.
I might rewind this at some point because this just seems to be going on forever. Oh, never mind.
Capital beta. Oh, there was some actual text in there in the middle.
So
I couldn't read it. It was so fast.
last time, if I press A, it keeps generating more digits to 98. Like it'll keep adding 88888. If I hit back, oh no, I guess not. See, this is a lot of weird symbols. Like we got strange font, bold font letters. We got O's. We have like parentheses and underlines. AE
Yeah,
plus F. What does AE plus F equal?
G. Right? AE plus F would equal G. If A is 1 and E is 5, no.
If A is 1 and E is 5, 5 times 1 is still
Oh
5,
yeah,
plus F is 6 would be 11,
is
so that would be
6,
K.
11. So we need the 11th letter of the alphabet.
That'd be K.
Okay.
This seems like a loop now, because like it went for the beta symbol, and then it equaled, and it looped back around, but yeah.
So
That's
AE
interesting.
plus F equals K.
it's interesting that someone could come up with a story about random things on the spot. I would be the kind of person though to like if I was in the audience, I would purposefully like say something really far off.
Yeah, well, I think that's what his friends were trying to do, and yet he still was able to tie them all together. And I
To do that
think,
in a way where it made sense at all is impressive.
yeah, well, it was funny enough that it was close enough to make sense, and it was still crazy enough that it didn't make total sense, and that's what made it funny, right? So it wasn't just it was
Yeah.
him doing it that was funny. And I think that was the brilliance of it, was the audacity of getting up there live and just randomly saying, okay guys, I'm on the spot. You put yourself on the spot, and just they could have said anything, right? So I think it was dinosaurs. There were dinosaurs in there. Computers, because the one teacher is in charge of the computer lab. So robots. It was robots. So
Oh,
so the robots drank the poison because poison doesn't affect robots. So they were able to purify it and make it back in the water, and it grew the tree, the coconut tree, and it was just really clever. And but yeah, I think the more outlandish the word, the better.
yeah. Because then you can get really fantastical with it. I remember back in school having to write certain stories about like, oh, these are the reading words. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. But like reading words or spelling words, vocabulary words, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But
So
and then
they'd
you'd have
focus
like a
on
group
certain
of
words.
10 words and you have to include them in a story somehow. So
I like it.
I think I wrote a story about like a guy's dog running away, and then he goes to find the dog, and he reaches this really cool castle, and there's a giant spider, and there's lemonade somewhere. And it's like this that was coherent except for the lemonade.
No, I think the lemonade ties it together. There was an episode of South Park where they're on a bus and it's teetering on the edge of a cliff, and somebody says, like, one of the characters says, "Oh, we've been in worse situations like than this," and somebody says, "Oh, when was that?" And then they tell this story, and it gets really crazy. And of course, like, their kids would tell a story where nothing could have like that could have possibly happened. But then they had this punchline at the end. The last line was always the same, no matter who was telling a story. And then we all had lemonade and cookies. They all start laughing, right? And then the next story is even weirder. And then we all had lemonade and cookies. And they all start laughing. So,
I love those stories where it's like either
yeah.
people recounting trying to outdo the other person with how weird their experiences have been, or the different
Yeah.
angles of people in the same situation just remembering it differently.
Oh, yeah. That's fascinating.
I love
Really.
that.
That's
That's what, two
fascinating.
sides to every story.
I just I just told a story about a documentary I saw where there were these two advisors to President Eisenhower, and they were sent to see Curtis LeMay, who was the um, Joint Chief Staff, like the head of the Air Force. And so they were talking about his reaction to this policy that is said the president is going to tell you, like, when it's time to launch the fighter or the bombers, right, in case the Soviets going to attack, right? So
Oh, of course.
Curtis LeMay says something like, well, I won't need anybody to tell me when the Soviets are going to attack because my intelligence is so good that I will see them massing their planes on the ground based on my aerial photographs, and I will scramble my planes and I will knock the blank out of them. And so the
Well,
one
that's
advisor
bold.
tells this story, right, which is probably exaggerated. And LeMay may have said those words, but they probably were to arouse an effect, right? To show his braggadocio or show his ego or whatever. But the second advisor goes in. Oh, I'm sorry. So the first advisor tells that story, and then he says, well, that's not the president's policy. And to which LeMay, according to this first advisor, says, no, but that's my policy. Now, the second advisor tells almost the same story, word for word, when the Soviets mass their planes, I'm going to launch and I'm going to knock the blank out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, to which was said to LeMay, that's not the president's policy. To which LeMay said, no, it's not, but it's up to me to allow the president to change his policy. So two men in the same room recounting the same conversation, they both overheard two different ways. And big difference, right?
One of them comes off as very bold. The other comes across as, I think you should
rather
maybe
sage.
adjust your position, which is like more
Right.
diplomatic.
Yeah. And so you wonder which one was right if either one of them were right. And then, and how much of the person who's recounting the story, how much of their character influences how they tell that story.
Oh yeah.
Because
I mean, we just went through Easter weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we got another menu. We just went through Easter weekend, and the thing that strikes me there is like, at Jesus' trial, there was like set up to be false witnesses, but they couldn't get them to agree on their statements. Like they all said somewhat different things. And like
you gotta everybody has to be in the same con, guys. You gotta get your story straight. I mean, like
it was you have to have two witnesses to agree in order to convict someone in Jewish law or in Israeli law back then. But I find it hysterical that they were on purpose trying to get them to lie, to say a false witness story, and they still couldn't get them to agree.
They bungled it.
But yeah, we've talked about a lot of things today, and hopefully we can get together and do more joint projects, whether it's a podcast of our own or if it's other playthroughs in the future. I would totally be open to either one.
Same, or both. I mean, there's no reason why we can't just play a game and talk while we're playing the game, or one of us is playing the game, or it doesn't have to. The subject matter always seems to stray a little bit away from the game anyway. So, like, that could just be the format. Like, hey, we're going to talk about the Fermi paradox, but we're going to play Wii, and or whatever it is, So.
And of course, you're welcome to hop in voice chat, and we can talk anytime. Doesn't have to be prearranged. If you're free, just send me a message. Let me know. I can, most of the time, if it's like after like 2 or 3 o'clock, I can hop on stream and we can talk. But yeah,
perfect. Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
So to our Twitch audience, thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate any of your input watching it back about my story idea. I will work to improve upon it, to kind of find a better way of explaining it, maybe in fewer words, maybe in a way that makes more sense. And
so, I have a friend right now who's trying to write a first draft, and I just said, look, just get it out. Just get it all on paper, because once you get it on paper, what's that say?
You will enter Peaceful Rest Valley. We got the repeating Hitman text again.
Gotcha. Yeah, just get the story on paper, because then once it's on paper, it's real, and you have something you can work with, and you can always edit it, make it shorter, better. Emphasize one thing. Maybe find a story within a story. There's, but get it out of your head and into some kind of form that you can have other people look at and that you can look at too. So.
Yep, and I will definitely keep working on it into the future. Also, a lot of other projects going on. The Jeopardy games in community. Oops. Hosting them in another Okay, I can't go back anymore. You will enter the Peaceful Rest Valley. I'm sure you will. But yeah, a lot of other projects going on. I will keep working on that. We will be together for more things in the future. So thank you for watching today. Once this goes up to YouTube, thank you for watching there as well. Please like and subscribe. It means a lot and helps both of us. Feel free to join the Discord. I'll include a link to my Discord server in the description as well. Me and Pat are both there. Everybody who you heard me mention in chat is there as well. Great place to have some community. And yeah, I'll let Pat have one final send-off. You can talk to the people.
Just thanks everybody for watching and listening, and it was great to meet you, and I hope to see more of you in the future.
Yep. And have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody. And so ends Let's Play Earthbound.
That was great.